If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. Fellow coders, if you're full of amazing ideas and have created amazing products but can't seem to get them off the ground, welcome. This is the Coders Startup, the show where smart programmers come to learn what it really takes to create, market, and sell a brand new product, and most of all, make it profitable. Now here's your host, successful software entrepreneur, Trevor Page.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Coder Startup. This is episode number 6. I, Mr. Trevor Page, am also joined, as always, by the right-hand man, Carter the Marketer Johnson. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, Trevor?
Not too much. I shouldn't say that. Actually, it's been a whole heck of a lot going on the past week for the both of us. And so basically that's going to be spilling over into this show, and we're going to make this show kind of like a more of a general, loosey-goosey, off-the-cuff type episode. So we don't really have a specific topic in mind, except for the fact that we have picked the topic of talking about essentially ourselves and our own businesses, because we decided there's a lot that we can sort of give based on just talking about our own businesses, because there's so many nuggets inside of our heads that have not come out yet. And I think, this was actually Carter's idea, so this is a great platform to get that good stuff out of our heads.
Totally.
Yeah, man.
I was actually at the Success Summit 3.0 conference this past weekend, and I realized how much I actually pick up when I'm just hearing other people talk about their business and some of the things they're doing and everything else. So I'm excited that we can kind of just have this ping pong dialogue with what's going on in our lives and our businesses.
Yeah, man, it's free reign. So we're taking the chains off. So because we didn't really plan too much, I guess what we can do maybe is start. I'll start and I'll talk about some of my recent successes and sort of what I've learned from it, and if I were to change anything, what would I have done differently, that kind of thing. So you want to dive right into that?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So I recently published a new book. So this is my second book, and this was on the topic of databases. So whether you guys listen to previous episodes and retain information quite well, then you'll remember that I have another job teaching programming concepts to up-and-coming programmers, that kind of thing. So one of those topics includes, obviously, databases, and I decided to release a book on the subject. But I did this in a very specific way. Now, I previously released a book on the topic of Java programming, and that book did well, but it's kind of been petering out. I tend to I'm going to be, full disclosure here, give away all my numbers so that you guys can benefit from it. Plus, I'm usually very open with all my, any audience that I speak to, so you'll have to get used to that. But my last book used to make around, I think it peaked at around $1,000 a month, which was fantastic. I am nowhere near that anymore. I might make maybe $150 to $200 a month with this book on Amazon, which is still great, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be. So, but now I have this specific strategy. How can I make the most money off of the book that I possibly can going forward? So the strategy I implemented was I released the book for free. And I kind of plan on perhaps going back to that completely, having just the book for free, once I've done a bit of testing. Now, you might think, how the heck you can make money if you release a book for free? Well, what I'm using the book for is what we call the lead magnet. So we've talked about lead magnets when we were talking about growing your email list, okay? Mm-hmm. So I've created this as a lead magnet, and inside of the book there are places where people can jump away from the book and onto a landing page. So I've created a single URL that you can go to, and you can sign up for my email list, which will sell another product. So typically what happens here is Amazon is a very large marketplace. Do you know how many people use Amazon? How many active credit card numbers and subscribers and purchasers there are on Amazon right now?
Me?
Yeah, man.
I do not know, and I wish I feel like I should, because I don't know if I was telling you, I just finished the Everything Store book, which is a story of Jeff Bezos and the startup of Amazon.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know who Jeff
Bezos
Bezos was.
A whole other conversation, but No, I do not know. How many?
Last time I'd heard, and this is a while ago, so this number is probably larger. But last I heard, it was 600 million people.
I believe it.
600 million.
I believe it.
Probably larger now. So it's a massive audience. And what's amazing about Amazon is that it has a lot of built-in marketing tactics, techniques, strategies that just automatically get applied whenever any of the users jump into the Amazon marketplace. In other words, they will market on your behalf. Okay. And that was something I learned very quickly when I published my first book on Java. I all of a sudden went to pretty much $1,000 a month in sales with very little marketing effort. So if you are just getting into the game, if this is your first time thinking about, what can I do? What can I create? A book is a great place to start. Now, having said that, my new book, like I said, is marketing as free. Free means more downloads, like orders of magnitude more downloads. If you charge 1 penny for your book, you're going to start to see probably 90% less people picking it up, because if they have to pay for it, even if it's just a penny, they still need to open their wallet. So you're going to get way less people downloading and purchasing your book. Whereas if it's free, you get this viral aspect to it, so long as it's a good book. So
totally. And can I interject?
Yeah, by all means.
Something real quick, Trevor. I want to compliment you on something that I think you do better than I would say anyone else I know, in the sense that this is your second book now on Amazon. And when Trevor publishes a book, even though it's an ebook, it is a real quality driven, thick book of information. We both know a lot of people in the ebook space, and a lot of people push forward, ghost-written books, or books that just cover, a quick checklist of things, and they'll either try to give it away for free or, charge 99 cents, something like that. And I've always just been so impressed with your dedication to quality and providing basically the most value possible for whoever is consuming all that content. So I definitely think that's something that you're beating 99.99999% of the people out there.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. That's good to know. And I mean, that's not an accident. If you're listening, obviously you guys are listening to this, but that wasn't an accident. I did that on purpose. I know that the more quality that you release, even if it's free, the response that you're going to get back is going to be phenomenal. Now, I want to start talking about the response, because the response has been phenomenal. I managed to rank the book. So what I used was something called the Kindle Select program. So if you're not familiar with the Kindle platform and Kindle Select, what it does is it allows you to really make use of Amazon's marketing machine, and you can put your book on sale for the price of $0.00. It's completely free for 5 days. Okay, so you get to make use of their insane marketing machine and strategies, and rank your book very quickly and get it downloaded by a lot of people, so long as you are part of this Kindle Select program. Kindle Select means the book is only available on Kindle. You are not allowed to make your book available anywhere else. That means even on your own website. So if you participate in this program, the big downside is it only has to be sold on Amazon. If you get caught, I don't know what the repercussions are, other than they will stop the promotion, but there might be further. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they come down with a pretty heavy hammer. I know several people who have been banned from Amazon just for silly, mix-ups with stuff. So if it's one of those things where they say only sell it on Amazon or only list it, I would only list it on Amazon. Yeah,
good to know. I don't want to run into any behemoths and find out what their legal powers that be may do to me. So yes, I participated in this program, put it on sale for free right out of the gate. So the day I launch it is the day I put it on for free. So just so I can get a good kickstart and get as many reviews as I possibly can to the book. Now, this goes hand in hand with my quality strategy. If you give away a book for free and the quality is not there, people will either just not bother to give a review, or they will give a review and it will be a negative review. And I can tell you from experience, what a negative review does to your book sales overall. Okay, I've felt that pain for the last book. The last book, like I said, was making a lot of money, up to $1,000 a month, because I started out of the gate with some good reviews. But then, because of some things that I've had to learn along the way, we can talk about that in a later episode, I started to get bad reviews. Okay, so bad reviews kill your sales opportunity for the book big time. So thankfully, this time, paired with the strategy of high quality content, okay, giving away the farm inside of the book, it being free, plus me already having a little bit of an established audience to sort of kickstart things off and email them and say, hey, this thing's on for free, check it out. I managed to amass well over 1,000 downloads of the book and having it hit the #1 spot on Amazon in 2 different categories, which was a huge accomplishment for me. I've never done that before, and I was very, very proud to now wear the badge of being the #1 best-selling author for a second time in a row. So it's been a very good experience, and like I said as well, the book is a lead magnet as well. So I'm driving people to a landing page. They're putting in their email address for, and I'll tell you how I set that up really quickly. They are getting assignments. So inside of the book, I teach obviously databases, but then I also have additional assignments and bonus videos that teach additional topics and really help to cement what it is that they've already learned. If they want to get access to that, it's free. They just need to go in, put their email address in, and then they get emailed the assignments and the bonus videos. But there you have it. I now have what you call a qualified lead. I have someone that has picked up the book. They've read it long enough and deep enough to the point where they've hit that, one of those landing pages, the link to the landing page. They've gone and typed in their email address. So you know what I can say? That person wants to learn about MySQL. They want to learn about databases. There's no doubt in my mind. So as soon as someone gets on that email list, I can now upsell them on perhaps a course, a video course, on the same topic, databases, MySQL, or anything related to databases now. I have a fully qualified lead that I know is interested in it, with everything to do with databases. So there's a lot I can do with that email list. So there you go.
And,
go
and
ahead.
I want to point out something that you're doing that not enough marketers and business owners do. You see so many people out there building their businesses on these platforms. So you look at like an Amazon or even like a Facebook page or a Twitter handler or something like that, and they're all psyched up because they have 25,000 Twitter followers and they make money by tweeting out links to their new product or something like that. But the problem with that, and stay with me on this one, the problem with that is when you are strictly on those platforms are controlling the fate of your business. So if for some reason Facebook decides, hey, we don't like community pages, or for some reason, I've heard of this happening to people, they're like, you know what, your community page is spammy, and it completely wasn't, and they yanked the page, that business is gone.
Really?
That business, it's out of there. And so the same thing with Amazon. Let's say that you were, using Amazon versus driving to a email subscriber list, you're driving it to products or something that you were selling on just a page, and all of a sudden Amazon says, hey, this book, it doesn't cut it, we're pulling it for whatever reason they decide. All of a sudden that whole stream of interaction is gone. So what you're doing, Trevor, is exactly what more people need to be doing, where they're using those avenues to generate a lot of traffic, and then they're capturing that traffic on a platform that they actually own, which in this case is the email list.
Exactly.
And that email list is yours. It's now your property. You can do with it as you choose. And again, that's a way where you, regardless what Amazon decides or Facebook or whoever, you can still market to that email list. So yeah, that's, I think, a good, valuable lesson for anyone listening to take away.
For sure. And one more thing, just to expand upon what Carter touched on there. This is something that it's a very off-topic, very minute detail, but I just wanted to drive it home just in case. He mentioned that the email list is my property and that I own it. That is true to a point, because I always thought, well, what happens if your email service provider, the provider that you have that you're using to collect all the email addresses, what happens if the company folds or they just decide to yank your email list? Well, then you lost all your emails. But then I remembered there's backup functions. So one thing that you could maybe get into a habit of doing, just for the super paranoid, you can go and you can export your email list to like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, and then you can save that on your Dropbox or wherever, and then you'll never truly lose that. So just a little tidbit of information.
And let me give you an example of why that's so valuable. One of the companies that I recently acquired a stake in, they had a CRM, content or customer relationship management. So like, just one of those systems that keeps all prospective and interested parties and potential clients in this one database. And the list was up to like 15,000 or something. And it was attached to a dormant email address, one that somebody had registered a long time ago and nobody was checking. Long story short, they had kept receiving all these emails, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no.
Your credit card on file has expired. You have X amount of days to renew it.
Oh, no.
All this stuff happened. And it was one of those management systems where they would just log in periodically. So a couple of months would pass and they'd log in and take a look. Long story short, they erased the accounts.
Oh, I knew that was coming.
All of the contact information in there. And we still have not figured out a way to recover all that. But that is, just to give you the power of that, depending on, what you're selling, an email blast to 15,000 contents, that can stir up a lot of business overnight. So that is a ton of money that we're losing right there. And we're trying all sorts of things, just figuring there has to be some way that we can recoup this old data. Right now we're reaching out to the company CEO, just because a lot of times you'll find that support staff and stuff like that in those extreme situations don't necessarily handle or even have the procedure that can deal with those things. So that's another little recommendation.
Yeah.
It's not their fault, but just try to think outside the box. If you get stuck on that, I typically look for the CEO's Twitter handle or LinkedIn profile or something and shoot them a few messages that way.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed it'll get resolved, but just another reason why doing exactly what you said, Trevor, backing everything up is a good idea.
Yeah, and I'm sure most of the programmers out there right now listening to this will be saying and hoping that they were using soft deletes, which means for you, Carter, that the database information is not actually deleted and gone. It's just flagged. Mm-hmm. Flagged is deleted. It's kind of like putting something in the trash bin, but not actually emptying the trash bin. Hopefully the data is still recoverable just with a simple SQL script, flipping the deleted flag from a yes to a no. So yeah, hopefully, I wish you all the best there.
See how just conversation brings out new things that you haven't learned.
Yeah.
So that's called soft deletes.
Yeah, that's something from my programming background. Soft deletes are used in a system typically for the purpose of just what you're saying. If the data gets deleted and someone needs to get it back, it's easy to do. But anyway, we won't get into that because the programmers know about that already. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess so that's pretty much. Amazon in general is a great marketplace to get started on because, like I said, just to sum things up, they have a nice built-in marketing platform for you with over 600 million people, active credit card people buying stuff through the marketplace already. So it's a very, very good place to sort of throw your throw your rod into that pond or start fishing in that pond and see what you can get. So what's going on with you, Carter? What lessons have you learned in the last however many weeks it's been since we recorded one of these?
Well, has it been 2 weeks? I don't know, because we've been slammed, both of us. I know, and like for those of you listening right now, we typically record on Thursdays, and it's Friday just because both of our days were so busy yesterday.
Yeah.
So what is new with me? So I think the biggest win that I've had, and I can derive a lesson from. So as I was telling you, and for those of you out there, one of my bigger businesses is SEO. I help companies basically get on the front page of Google, and I do that through a variety of different ways. And we really ramped up our advertising through the help of Trevor, actually. And
Woot woot.
yeah, mastermind of Facebook ads. And it just so happened that in a combination with that, as well as some joint venture partners and some other avenues, it was kind of just this perfect swarm. And we got bombarded with people who were coming on board. So just onboarding the clients. And, I was getting to the point where I had so much work, I couldn't even breathe. And what I realized was I have not systemized this enough. So I actually got the help of one of my buddies who is an expert at really just input and output processes, something that I'm sure all the programmers listening can do really, really well. And so we really just broke down the entire system of the business and fine-tune that just to automate a lot of the processes and just get them a lot more mainstream and organized. And that was a really big win for me, because that was something that I always tend to struggle with, and one of the reasons why I don't like starting businesses as much as I like acquiring them, because I'm not the best system builder. So that was a huge win for me. Another big win, I got to meet one of the companies that I recently acquired a stake in. I got to go to their weekly staff meeting and be introduced and everything. And it's always a lot of fun when you're doing that. I really could pick up on the excitement and just the real positive outlook that the company has. So super, super excited to meet some new great folks there. What else?
Well, I want to talk about. So, do you have any good concrete examples of the? So they call them SOPs in the business.
Yeah.
Standard operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do anything for that? Like, what did you? Because I'm just, you say you're bad at it, but I think you're 10 times better at it than I am. I have no standard operating procedures whatsoever. What do you do for that? Like, is it easy to set one up? What do you do?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So the first thing we did was literally, we started with something simple like a new client comes in. What happens next? So for us, the first step was to identify, are they using an aged domain, so one that they've had for a while, or is it a brand new domain? And basically we made a decision tree with all these different steps. So, look up decision tree if you're not familiar with it.
Programmers will definitely be.
Yeah, that's true.
If this, then that.
Exactly. And that's all we did. And we broke it down to the dumbest, simplest form possible. And so then once we have all those steps with the decision tree, we basically identify each process that leads to an output. And that's where the SOP comes into play, where we just break down that whole procedure literally to where it almost just makes you nauseous. You're so bored with writing how simple this is. But I heard a really good rule once, and it was basically write the procedure so you can train someone for 1 hour, and then you'll never have to train them again.
Is that beautiful? That's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's a pain, and you're going to be like, I'll just do this because it'll take me 5 minutes and it's going to take an hour to write this. But resist the urge, because what these systems are actually doing are allowing you to work on the highest value activities in your business. So for me, that's interacting with the customers. That's, basically taking on sales calls, everything, all that sort of stuff. But I don't need to be implementing our social bookmarking strategy, and I don't need to be implementing our local citation strategy. Those are things that other people can do really, really well, and it doesn't need to be done by me.
Wicked.
So, yeah, that's. There's a really good book, and I'm looking at my
bookshelf.
My bookshelf, trying to see which one.
For those of you that don't know, Carter has a massive bookshelf. So,
I love books. I'm a reading nut. So one book I'd recommend is The E-Myth Revisited.
Yes, I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, very good book in terms of systemizing and basically just breaking down what needs to be done. Oh, one that programmers might really like is the Pumpkin Plan, and that was
Ah, yes.
recommended to me by you a few years ago. And I love that book. I think it does a great job of pointing out the deficiency in general business of basically not catering to a certain type niche and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for
So,
the pumpkin patch, it's really, when I read it, it's really for someone, I feel anyway, that it was for someone who has an established client base or an established base of sales. So if you pretty much have no sales, it's still okay to read it, but you're not going to get as much out of it as if you already, have been in the trenches and been getting customers and stuff like that. That was just my impression of it. Still, yeah, very, very good book. Very good to understand the concepts taught in it. Now,
yeah.
what I was going to say, just back to relating to SOPs, I remember hearing this amazing quote. I was walking the dog and listening to a podcast. Of course, can't remember the podcast anymore. Can't remember the who said this quote, but it really hit me, and because it made a lot of sense. It really clicked with me. And it went something. I'm completely ruining the quote. It's no longer gonna be a quote, but it's just the theory behind it. I thought was quite good. So it's the person basically made an observation in general about pretty much every entrepreneur that ever existed, and they sort of broke down the entrepreneurial path into more or less three different phases. And he actually broke it down into years as well. So he said with each phase, it takes you at least a year to get through each phase. So he essentially said year one, as an entrepreneur, as a brand new entrepreneur, you basically learn how to create. You basically learn how to produce. So that's creating content, producing, blog posts or maybe podcast episodes or any sort of content that you can get out there, as well as how to create products. So it's obviously the things that you're going to be charging money for. Hopefully you guys know what a product is at this point in your life. So you basically, in phase one and year one, that's what you learn to do. You go from, the baby entrepreneur who has never done this before to someone who can more or less feel as though that they've accomplished something, that they've been able to release stuff, and that they feel somewhat comfortable with the process of creating. And then in year two, you learn about selling. So in phase two, you learn how to take the products that you've created and get past the barriers that you need to get past in order to be a good salesman, in order to be a good person who can actually break down the walls of a potential customer and get them to pull out their wallet. And this is a huge lesson for me. So obviously every entrepreneur is going to be different. I was much better at product creation than sales. But lately I've been hitting my stride in sales. I've gone from, for example, saying, promoting my product, saying, hey, I have 45 hours of video tutorials, thinking that's going to be selling stuff, whereas that doesn't sell anything. No one cares I have 45 hours of video tutorials. They care what happens at the end of the video tutorials, what happens after they've gone through all those 45 hours. So that was basically something that I've learned how to master. And that was year two, essentially, as an entrepreneur. And then year three, that's when you learn. This is where I'm getting back to the point of SOPs. Year three is when you're able to take all that sales knowledge and the knowledge of product creation and content creation, and it all comes together in the fantastic thing that we call scaling. So that's scaling your business in such a way that you can really leverage all of your knowledge to be able to make the most money possible with as a few hours worked as possible. So that's making systems, implementing obviously standard operating procedures. That's hiring people to do jobs for you where you don't do them yourself anymore. That's really getting to the point where you can spend $1 and make $2 and walk away and go on vacation. Okay, so that was a great way that really opened my eyes and made it really obvious where I was in the spectrum of the entrepreneurial journey. So that's a good way to I thought, for any entrepreneur to say, okay, where am I right now, and how am I doing, and is my how should I feel about where I am right now? Because if you've been doing this for 1 year and you're saying, well, I can't sell anything and I can't scale it and I'm sucking at that, then maybe that's not such a bad thing, because you've only been doing this for a year. You might be expecting too much of yourself. So that's just a good little guideline that I felt really resonated with me. So
that reminds me of something that I heard once, and I come back to this so often. Somebody told me, or it was a quote or something, but it was basically saying that a true business owner can step away and have absolutely no interaction with their business for an entire year and come back and find it better than when they left it.
Oh man, that's so scary.
Could you imagine? But I mean, that's, and being completely transparent, I've never had a business like that. I've never been able to, and I think I'm too much of a control freak to ever even let myself, which is, what I'm working on. But I mean, down to the core, that's essentially what you want to work on. You want to build these systems where you're consistently improving, where sales don't rely on you, and where even like the hiring process is very well systemized, and there's a process there, and there's somebody there executing it. But yeah, that's very macro thinking and long term. So let's bring it back in and
sorry
about some of the the day-to-day stuff and what we're working on. So one of the other things, Trevor, I know I mentioned this to you, and I think it's a great time to bring it up, is just the Success Summit 3.0 and that whole experience. And really cool for those of you interested. Feel free to Google it, poke around on the website and all. But basically, it was an event held in Boulder, Colorado, and it featured tons of these game changers that are really setting the tone for co-learning, community, collaboration, sustainability, consciousness, all sorts of things in the spectrum of business. And I mean, there were people like John Mackey there, who was the co-founder of Whole Foods, Tony Hsieh, Zappos, and now heading up the Las Vegas Downtown Project. There was just tons of amazing speakers there, and a few things that I want to just talk about is in terms of good lessons from this. One of the things that I really came out of and really has already boosted my energy a ton over this past week, just from thinking on it, is the idea that we need to all be working on something that's more than just for strictly profits. And I used to have a hard time in the SEO world, just because, Trevor, I mean, there's tons of different affiliate and cheesy products, if you will, that you can rank for and make a ton of money from. And so for me, that was kind of always like in the back of my head, and it was just a little troublesome. But when I was at this conference and I was hearing a lot of these CEOs give speeches and stuff, and one of the cool things I thought about is, doing SEO and helping companies get to the front page of Google, we can pick and choose who we work with. And there's a lot of great companies out there who are doing amazing things, but just don't know how to market themselves. And so that kind of Monday, I sat down and I shaped our mission statement and our why, and really reflected on that. And it made me feel a lot more powerful and confident in terms of the business. So that was a really good reflection for me, and I encourage those of you out there to sit down and think about, like, okay, what is my product, what is my service, what is it solving, and how is it part of the bigger picture? And when you do that, I don't know, for me, it gets me a lot more excited about what I'm working on day in and day out. So that was lesson number one. Lesson number two, and this
actually,
is
hold on. Before you've hit something there that's significant to me right now. You guys won't know this, but we have a mutual friend named Amy, and I had a meeting with this person, Amy, a couple days ago, and it's just in our regular mastermind group. We meet every week and just chit chat about our businesses and whatnot. And Amy and I were talking about sort of where we are right now and what's going on, and both of us had hit this sort of feeling inside of just overall gratitude and just, events that transpired in our lives and what have you, just made us realize like how lucky we are to be in the situations that we are, and really made us focus on what it is that we're doing and how to move forward from here, and how to be better. So it's just funny how we always say this. This has been like the second or third time that our group has said this, but we're all sort of evolving together, and we're all sort of hitting the same realizations and having the same experiences all together, even though we don't live anywhere near each other, and
our businesses are not similar in the least
no,
bit.
Yeah, completely different businesses, but we're all kind of hitting the same. Yeah, it's like the same stride at the same time. It's just funny that you said that, because that's really what Amy and I were talking about, and yeah, it's funny how that transpires. But anyway, keep going.
That's awesome. And yeah, I missed our last mastermind call again.
That's all right.
Just
I forgive
status
you.
of this week. So yeah, the second lesson, and this is something, Trevor, I think it would be great if we spent a whole episode talking about this, but it's basically just the importance of getting out and going to different meetups and conferences and things like that. Tony Hsieh gave a great talk on the whole theory behind the Downtown Project in Las Vegas, and there are two leading indicators. They're key performance indicators for the entire business and project, which is this $350 million project. Are they increasing the rate of random collisions and then the luck factor? And again, this is a lot of theory behind this and everything else, but you can tell they have put a ton of thought in this. And what they are trying to do, and I'll bring this full circle in a second, they are trying to basically increase the amount of times that you'll randomly see somebody in a coffee shop or see somebody in a co-working space and start up a conversation. What are you working on? What's so-and-so working on? And that's really how a lot of amazing ideas are created. And I thought that was really interesting that was like, even down to when they are deciding if they should invest in, new square foot in terms of real estate. That's what they're looking at, and they know the return of that. And one of the things I found is at these conferences, a lot of times you'll run into those things more so than obviously if you're just sitting at home. So, and you don't have to go to the big, glamorous, over the top conferences that cost a fortune. You can look up simply networking events in your local area, or local meetup events, or just random things like that, and you'll be amazed at how many times just interacting in a community, those new formed relationships lead to amazing things down the road. And I use us as an example, Trevor. Like, we met in a community which was called the Foundation.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, pretty crazy to think about. So and going from just to top off the Success Summit 3.0 portion, I met a lot of good people that I would never have known otherwise, people from all across the country and all, really cool business owners and stuff. And because we met on that neutral ground, neither one of us was selling anything to anyone else, we weren't working on a project or something, it's just a natural relationship where we both want to see each other succeed now. So yeah, I'd love for us to spend an episode, if that's something people would be interested in, on how to kind of manufacture those things and really get into an environment where those random collisions and luck factor come into play.
Nice. And when you said random collisions, I thought you literally meant like collisions between two cars, so that's why I kind of went, ha, that's interesting.
Well, that's so funny. I was telling my girlfriend about it, and she said the same thing. She was like, what do you mean random collisions? Like people actually bumping into each other?
I think they want to encourage people to hurt themselves. I don't know.
Yeah. But
beautiful. There you go. So very, very good stuff. Hopefully you guys have been able to extract one or two things from this talk that can take you forward in your entrepreneurial journey. If you're just starting out, then you probably learned a lot, so that's a good thing. And if you haven't, then maybe you just heard, one thing about the quote that I liked from whoever it was on whichever show it was I heard. Hopefully that helps you out too. So Cool. So let's wrap things up. I'll tell you to hop on over to the show notes page at codersstartup.com/6, because this is episode number 6. And by all means, hop on over as well to Carter's site, because he's always been publishing stuff. I'm gonna keep him. I'm gonna keep him accountable for that and publish good stuff about marketing
Please
and perhaps SEO in general, because the man is on fire with SEO stuff. What we need to do is do a show on SEO, and you can really shine with all the knowledge that you have there. We've been saying SEO all this time, and we haven't really described it at all. So
we need to, because I've had the last month I probably had 5 different requests for either creating a lesson and being on a webinar or something like that.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do it, I'd rather do it here first versus anywhere else. So
let's do that next week. Let's do that next week. Let's make a note to make it happen.
Awesome.
But yeah, hop on over to his site. It's mcarterjohnson.com.
Yep, you got it.
M. Carter Johnson, because his real name is Michael Johnson, but I think he didn't
tell my secrets.
he doesn't want to be named after a what is it, a sprinter or something like that?
Man with the golden shoes, Trevor.
Man with the golden shoes. Well, there you go. That's what Carter should rebrand himself as, the man with the golden shoes. So hop on over mcarterjohnson.com and check his stuff out. And we'll talk. We'll touch base later next episode, to fill your brains full of SEO juice and SEO knowledge. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. Thank you so much, Carter, and take care of yourself, dude.
As always, man.
Peace.
See ya.